Okay, in chapter 4, just watch this PowerPoint. The only thing I'm going to really be focusing on in chapter 4 regarding tests, homework, quizzes, is really going to be related to what they call percentiles, quartiles, or deciles. So this is kind of, doing some of the same stuff we did in chapter 3 when we got to the mean, median, mode, because it really is about measures of location and position. But they for some reason, the authors decided to put percentiles into chapter 4. I usually cover that when I cover the mean, median, mode. So in this chapter, our focus is going to be, exclusively on just how to do a percentile or a quartile. So I'm basically limiting your content for this particular chapter. So like I said before, you've got what they call measures of position, which is your percentiles, your quartiles. And it basically just kind of shows you from low to high, where is the data located. Okay, in a moment, we'll walk you through the actual formula. So as you can see down here, here's going to be our formula on how to calculate a percentile. Excuse me, I like to use the red ink, so I changed the color. So notice down here you've got n plus 1 multiplied by p over 100. And percentiles always go from 0 up to 100. So if we wanted, for example, to find the 33rd percentile, okay, and depending on what our sample size was, we would, basically plug in, like let's say we had, let me write this up. Let's say we had a sample size of, let's say n is equal to 20. Okay, the formula, the way we would plug it into the formula would be like this. We'd say 20 plus 1, multiply that by 33 over 100, and then that's going to give us what they call a location. In a moment, I'll show you how you count, but the basic idea is this is the formula we're going to be using for the percentiles. And so just kind of using this as an example, always note this is n is equal to 15 brokers, so that's our sample size. Notice this data isn't in any particular order. So eventually when we want to get the median or what they call first quartile or third quartile, we're going to have to take this data and then put it into ascending order first before you do anything. So you'll notice that that's pretty much what we've got right here, organizing the data from lowest to largest. And notice in this case, you would say that the lowest number right here is 1,460. And then the highest number is down here, which is 2,406. And as you start to count, you got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So here's our 15. But the way you want to label the counts, if you're going to go from low to high, you'd say this is number 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So hopefully you can see that you're going from low to high, but in terms of order, that's how you would want to label where each of these data is located. Okay, so if you wanted to find what they call the first quartile, guys, I'll label this as quartile 1. That's also known as the 25th percentile. Okay, so in this case we had what? N is equal to 15. So what you do is you take 15, let me erase that, you take 15 plus 1, and then you'd multiply that by 25 over 100. And they're basically showing you that pretty much right down there. And what you came up with is you came up with the number 4. Guys, that means location. So the way you locate it is you have to start counting from low to high. So remember, we go down here, we got 1, that's 2, that's 3, and then that would be the 4th position. So 1,721 would be called the first quartile. That'd be called the 25th percentile, which in this case is the 4th position. Okay. Now, if you wanted to do the 3rd quartile, guys, the 3rd quartile, I'm going to label it like this, is also called the 75th percentile. So the calculation would be 15 plus 1, multiply that by 75 over 100. And again, they're going to show you that right there. And they got a number 12. So what that means is that is the 12th position. So you just basically have to count. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then guys, guess what? There's 12, so there's your answer. That would be called the 3rd quartile or the 75th percentile. So then the final thing is what happens when you do a percentile calculation and you don't get a whole number, you get a fraction. So like for example in this case, you had a sample of 6 and you wanted to locate the first quartile, which is the 25th percentile. So notice what they did. They took 6 plus 1, multiplied that by 25 over 100, and they got 1.75. And of course, up here is our data in ascending order. So notice if I started to count, I've got that's labeled as 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6. But this is going to be located somewhere up here. So the basic rule is we know that in this case it's going to be somewhere between 43 and 61. So what you do is, you know, it's going to be 1 past 43. So what you do is you start counting. You got 1, and then when you get to 2, you stop because this is 1.75. So then what you do is you take the difference between 61 and 43. Okay, so you take that difference and you're going to multiply that by 0.75. Okay, and so once you do that, you simply add that to 43, and in this case it's going to get you about 56.5 when they're kind of showing you this down there. And that's how you would calculate. In this case it would be the first quartile, but notice this is a little bit different than if you just had gotten a whole number integer. So you start with 43, that's number 1, and then because it's 1.75, you go to the next number, you take the 61, you subtract 43, you multiply it by that 0.75, and then you add it to 43. In this case, you're going to get 56.5. That's how you would calculate for a non-integer percentile. That's how you'd calculate the actual location.